How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the second half of this episode of the Hip Drop Podcast. Lucas and I had to step away for a little bit due to an obligation, but we are back. We are going to recap four of the most notable games played on Sunday. A couple major upsets. The last of the unbeatens have fallen. There are no undefeated teams left, and the 1972 Dolphins can pour their champagne. And we will start, Lucas, with the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles losing their first game with Jalen Hurts as their starting quarterback in over a calendar year. They fall to the Denver Broncos 21-17. They blew a 17-3 lead in that game. Denver scored 18 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, and they get a big win, probably the biggest win of the Bo Nix era in Denver, arguably the Sean Payton era as well, beating the Eagles in Philly, a place where they rarely lose. And this was a weird game, Lucas, because it looked like the Eagles were in control for the majority of it. Bo Nix was horrendous for three quarters. He could do nothing against Vic Fangio's defense. And then the Eagles kind of feels like they took their foot off the gas. They played with their food. They let the Broncos back in the game, and they took advantage. A big play was Zach Bond committing a very silly personal foul penalty, a late hit on, I forget who the receiver was who caught the ball. I believe it was RJ Harvey, their running back. There were a couple of questionable calls that went Denver's way. A big one was it looked like Dallas Goedert got interfered with on the Eagles' game-winning drive attempt. They threw a Hail Mary. It was a catchable ball. Devontae Smith hit it. It hit Devontae Smith in the hands. Unfortunately, A.J. Brown went up for it as well, knocked it to the ground. So Lucas, the Broncos they were a team that looked pretty shaky early on. They lost two very winnable games, they barely beat Tennessee, but they've looked very good the last couple of weeks. Beating the Eagles will put you on notice more than beating the Bengals. But let's talk about the Eagles. They lose their first game in a while. Their offense, really outside of a couple drives, continued to struggle. Jalen Hurts statistically had a solid game. He threw for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But he did take 6 sacks. I don't think he was particularly awesome in this game. He missed A.J. Brown and what would have been a touchdown. A.J. Brown, to be fair to Hurts, did slow up. They only ran the ball with Barkley 6 times, which is wild to me. And if you're the Eagles, like you got away with some get wins early in the year, and I held them to the same standard that we held the Chiefs to last year. Like, okay, like it's not pretty, but they're winning. Well, they didn't win this one. They lose at home to a team that they should have beaten. Although I do think Denver is good. What's your takeaway from this one? What's your takeaway for the Eagles, and what does this tell you about the Broncos? I think they're very well coached and they're very good defensive, a very good defensive unit, which was my assumption of them going into the year.
Yeah, I think this game said more about the Eagles than it did against the Broncos. I just think the play calling in the second half for the Eagles was kind of odd. I don't think they
Yeah.
ran nearly enough. I guess now Saquon was hurt, so I guess that makes somewhat more sense now. But at the same time, questionable play calling. I don't think they should have lost this game to a Broncos offense that isn't particularly explosive. Eagles still had a chance to win, to reclaim the lead late, but just could not capitalize against a good Denver defense. I think Denver played well. They won. They had a multi-touchdown comeback in a very tough environment, so not taking anything away from them. But I think we learned more about Philly in this game than we did Denver. I
Yeah.
I think I still think Denver's a playoff team, but I didn't walk away from this game saying like, "Oh, Denver's arrived. Like Denver's going to be a problem in the playoffs." Like, no, not really.
No, I don't think they're a contender. I do think they're a team that will go to the playoffs. And luckily for Denver, they play the two New York teams back to back. So they'll be 5-2 going into a big game against the Cowboys at home. For the Eagles, look, I mean, they've earned the benefit of the doubt. I still think they're contenders. I still think they're a very good team that can be in Santa Clara and win the Super Bowl in February. But this, I feel like it was kind of a needed loss for them because their fans are talking about vibes of 2023, where they're coming off a Super Bowl appearance. Obviously, the difference is they're coming off a win rather than a loss. They get off to kind of a fraudulent start, and it completely fell apart at the end. They had serious offensive coordinator issues that year with Brian Johnson. This year, I think Kevin Patullo, anyone can see, has done a pretty bad job with that offense. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing progresses because they play the Giants on Thursday. They should win that game. But I mean, the schedule does get tougher. You're at Green Bay against the Packers. You play the Lions at home. You're at Dallas, which I don't think will be a terribly easy game. You're at the Chargers on Monday night. You play the Commanders and the Bills the last 3 weeks of the year. Like the schedule gets tougher down the stretch. I think they need to get their shit together offensively. And you got to wonder, like, Nick Sirianni, can he hold this together? Because you're lower on Nick Sirianni than I feel like a lot of people are. We've seen this team fall apart under him. So he's got to make sure, like, it doesn't repeat what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think 2 years ago will happen because I think the Eagles will be more aware, and I do think that year both sides of the ball kind of had issues with head coaching issues. This year, I think
Yeah.
they can Vic Fangio, so I think that
Yeah.
better.
Fangio's and obviously a big
Yeah,
difference between this team and that team. Yeah.
yeah,
I should have mentioned that.
yeah. I think this team will still make the playoffs. Like I think maybe my Commanders pick to win the division is now looking a little bit better, but we got to see what happens. I think they're going to beat the Giants no matter what. If they lose to if they lose to New York on Thursday Night Football, then a lot of uncomfortable questions need to be asked because then I think the conversations of was that 4-0 start fraudulent? Those do become real if they lose to the Giants, but their schedule down the stretch really isn't that it really is not that difficult. So if they could just beat
I
JJ
mean,
McCarthy
we
and the
differ
Vikings,
there. I mean, they're scheduled on the 50, but the Bills, the Commanders, the Chargers,
sorry,
the Cowboys, the Lions. Like, it's not easy.
no, I misspoke. I didn't mean down the road. I meant like over like the next like month.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. Okay.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
misspoke. No, yeah, I mean they have the Giants twice, and then they also have the Vikings. The Vikings, like that, might not be an easy game, but it's just way too hitter. Like I have no idea what we're getting from the Vikings quarterback situation. So Kevin O'Connell could come out of that game, come out of the bye humming, and the Eagles might be in trouble, or JJ McCarthy just has not figured it out yet, or Carson Wentz is still playing, and that Vikings offense just isn't very good, and then maybe it's just a race to 17.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it's one loss. You're not going to write at the of a team that hoisted the Lombardi in February after one loss, but it does raise some questions. We'll see how they progress. And a huge win for Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. All right, next game, an absolute thriller, probably the game of the weekend, um, or at least the game on the best game on Sunday. Bucks Seahawks. The Bucks win an absolute duel between these two quarterbacks, 38-35 on a game-winning field goal by Chase McLaughlin, set up by a bad Sam Darnold interception on an otherwise excellent performance by Sam Darnold. He threw 4 touchdowns in this game. Baker Mayfield was also sublime. He threw an absolute dime to Emeka Ibuka. He threw a go-ahead touchdown to Sterling Shepard. He continues to play really good football after a bit of a lackluster performance against Philly in Week 4. Darnold continues to play really well. Sam Darnold, Lucas, I think, has proved both of us
Yeah,
wrong. I mean, he's played excellent football. He's proven that it wasn't just Kevin O'Connell last year. Both teams were missing guys. Seattle's missing a lot of starters defensively, hence why they gave up 38 points at home. So the Bucks improved to 4-1. Seattle falls to 3-2. Really well played game. I don't feel worse about Seattle because they lost. I just think the Bucks kind of have found ways to win. All 4 of their wins are on the last play. A missed field goal by Atlanta, a walk-off touchdown against Houston by Rachaad White, a walk-off field goal, and then 2 walk-off field goals against the Jets in Seattle. And we got to talk about Baker Mayfield. I think he has really taken that next step. I think he was slightly overrated last year, but I think he is playing really solid football. He's throwing absolute dimes, despite not having Bucky Irving, despite not having Mike Evans. It was really just Emeka Ibuka and half of Chris Godwin against Seattle on the road and a really good defensive mind in Mike McDonald, and he tore them apart. He deserves a lot of credit. He's played really good football this year, as has Sam Darnold, in 2 really, really good career turnarounds of these 2 quarterbacks.
yeah. I think if you factor in the quality of opponents and like the fact that the Bucks have to travel like pretty much across the entire country, that may have been the best game of Baker Mayfield's career. Like if it's not number
Yeah.
certainly, almost certainly top 3 to 5. I thought he was excellent. He did a very good job pushing the ball down the field. He was accurate. He had a adjusted completion percentage of 93.8%. Only had 4 incompletions. One of those was a throwaway, and the other one was a drop, and another one was a
Yeah.
drop. So he really went like 30 of 32 with an average depth of target of 7.5. So wasn't exactly pushing the ball down the field, but still played very well. When he did throw it deep, he was excellent. 4 of 5 for 128 yards and a touchdown on throws more than the 20 yards past the line of scrimmage or past the line of scrimmage. But I don't think we've seen the best of this Bucks team yet. I picked them to be the number
No.
1 seed, and I just think they just haven't been healthy. Like Tristan Wirfs was out to start the year. He's back, but they're still missing their right tackle. and then also Mike Evans is out. And then same thing with Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin was out for the start of the year. He's gone. He's back now, but then, like I said, Mike Evans is back. So I don't think we've seen this offense anywhere near 100%. And like I forgot to mention, Bucky Irving. He's on two of my fantasy teams. Like we haven't seen this Bucks offense nearly at its strongest capability, and they're 4-1. And I don't really know if they have any real competition for the NFC South. I guess technically Atlanta is record-wise close to them, but they already beat Atlanta on their home turf. So they pretty much just got to beat them. They pretty much just got to beat them at home on a Thursday night game in December. If they can do that, it's going to be pretty hard for them not to win the division.
Yeah, a huge win for Tampa. That's probably the second longest flight in the league, only behind Miami to Seattle, all the way across the country. That throw that Baker Mayfield made to Emeka Ibuka in the end zone, that's one of the best throws I've seen all year. That was a perfect throw. And we can't take anything away from Sam Darnold. He had a bad moment at the end, but he played excellent as well. He deserves a lot of credit. And he's, like I said, he's proved me really wrong this year. I honestly think Darnold's been better this year than he was last year. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I think it's
agree.
Very fair.
I think last year, I think he wasn't quite as good as the box score indicated. This year, he is really playing quarterback at a high level. So good for Sam Darnold, continuing to evolve as a quarterback. All right, next game, Fox's game of the week. The Commanders beat the Chargers 27-10 in the return of Jaden Daniels. Despite being down 10-0, the game really turned on a Quentin Johnston fumble. Washington went right down the field. They scored on a touchdown by Bill, a.k.a. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who had a huge game, the best game of his young career. He's been really good for Washington this season, the rookie running back. Daniels was excellent. He made some really nice throws down the field. He threw one touchdown to Debo at the end. He made plays with his legs. He looked like Jaden Daniels. He looked like the guy that led this team to the NFC Championship game last year. And the Chargers, they really just, it sounds like I'm making excuses, but they were missing. You could tell they were missing their offensive line. No Slater, obviously, no Alt for the foreseeable future. Mekhi Becton was out. Justin Herbert did not have much time to throw against a pretty middling Washington front. I mean, it's not a great front for Washington. It's not a great defense as a whole, and they can only manufacture 10 points despite scoring on their opening drive. Herbert struggled in the game. He threw an interception in the red zone that really kind of sealed the Chargers' fate. So the Chargers, after looking like the darlings of September, really kind of hitting a rough patch. They lose 2 straight. Luckily for them, they do get the Dolphins next week, so we'll see if they can get their groove back a little bit. But Washington reminding us that they're still here. They're still there in the NFC. I still think they're a very good team. I do not think they were a fluke. Jaden Daniels, I think, is an excellent quarterback, proving that once again. So a big win for the Commanders, a win that they needed to get back above 500. And the Chargers, I think they need to kind of like weather the storm without their guys up front, at least for the next couple games.
Yeah, I think this is a game that showed a lot of resiliency. Washington showed a lot of resiliency. The Chargers were up 10-0. The Commanders got a big break with that holding, or that not holding call, the roughing the punter that took away a Ladd McConkey return touchdown. That changed the game, and Washington just never looked back after that. This is a game Washington needed to win if they wanted to stay alive in the divisional race realistically. Chargers, unfortunate for them, injuries are starting to cost them. I mean, when you're down both of your tackles, you're just not going to operate at 100%. I don't even think Justin Herbert played that poorly. I actually think he played very well.
No,
he played very well.
Average.
But there's not much. There's not much you're going to do when you're down both your starting tackles.
I agree.
Both of which are excellent, and whose backups are a huge drop off.
Oh, for sure. And Herbert didn't have much of a chance in this game. Quentin Johnston, to his credit, has been really good this year. Really hurt him with that fumble. They also negated a punt return touchdown by Ladd McConkey because they roughed the punter. And even the interception Herbert threw was a bit unlucky. It was tipped at the line, picked off by Washington at the goal line. So Herbert really is kind of working against him at the moment. But they got to beat the Dolphins. They got to at least get a win to get their confidence back a little bit. And a big win for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. All right, Lucas, last game, Sunday Night Football. The Patriots go into Buffalo and knock off the Bills, who at the time were the last unbeaten team, 23-20. A late field goal by their rookie kicker, Andy, how do you pronounce their Patriots kicker last name, Lucas? Barajos?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have
Andy.
no idea.
We'll just call him Andy. His first name's Andy. It's a 52-yard field goal in a hostile environment. The Bills run out of time at the end, And Lucas, as Lucas lets his dog out of his room, this was really kind of the coming out party for Drake May because Drake May, up to that point, I saw as like a talented quarterback, but very unproven. Didn't obviously last year was in a bad situation with Gerard Mayo as his coach, not a lot of talent around him. And then this year he's played very well. He has like basically been a top 5 to 10 quarterback by almost every metric. And while the stat line wasn't amazing this game, if you watch the game, he really took advantage of the Bills defense. Stephon Diggs had a revenge game for the ages, 10 for a buck 62 for Mr. Diggs there, proving that he still has it. But let's talk about the Bills, Lucas, because they've been kind of playing with fire against bad teams at home and the Dolphins and the Saints. And it kind of bit them in the ass this game. Their defense, you look at, they only gave up 23 points. Their defense was not good in this game, not helped out by their offense, turning the ball over 3 times. Josh Allen threw a pick in the red zone. I don't think Josh Allen was particularly great in this game. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but I do think this was probably, one of his worst games of the year, maybe besides that Jets game. But the Bills it's one loss. I'm not going to overreact too much, but they kind of showed the same issues that they've had in the past where I'm uncertain how well coached they are. They're not great defensively, and their offense is kind of Josh Allen, James Cook, and a prayer. But for the Patriots, like that is a culture changing win. This team has been absolutely horrific for 2 years. They hire Mike Vrabel. It looks like they got a quarterback in Drake May, and this is a win that can really propel a franchise moving forward.
Yeah, this was gigantic, both in terms of what it meant for the Patriots, like emotionally, like, hey, this is a win that could really very easily like compound in a positive way down the stretch for them. It was also huge, literally for the standings. I just saw a graphic with the odds for the AFC East. The Bills went from like minus 1,600 to minus 425 to win the AFC East from before and after the game. The Patriots went from like 12-1 to like 4-1, which is huge after one game. So I still think the Bills are going to, of course, the Bills are still going to win the division, but they don't have as much margin for error as we much thought. I
Yeah.
didn't think the Patriots were that good coming into the year. I thought they'd be a 7 seed, but like maybe like they get in like on the last week of the season, not like a clear cut 7 seed. But the Bills got to be careful. They have the Falcons on Monday Night Football. Anything could happen. The Falcons are coming off a bye. That's not going to be an easy game. Then they have the Chiefs in a few weeks, and then their schedule in December is really not fun. They're at
No.
Houston on Thursday night, at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh might not be great, but that's a road game in a cold environment. Anything can happen. The Bengals, who knows? Like Burrow might be back for that game according to his original timeline, but at that point, the Bengals just like shut him down for the year, and so that could be an easy game. At the Patriots, as we just saw, at the Browns, it's an easy game. Like the Eagles at home, like they got a lot of losable games down the stretch. Like I still think the Bills are going to win 13 games,
Yeah.
but if they have like a stretch here where they lose like 3 games and they're at 4 losses, it's going to get very hairy
Hmm.
down the stretch for them. And that Week 15 game in New England is going to be huge. Like again, I still think there's like a 85% chance Buffalo wins the East, but that was the game they had to win because I think if they won it, the division race was literally over. But now they're giving New
Yeah.
England a chance, and maybe they'll look to regret that.
Yeah, like it's not a great loss for the Bills. That's a game that you should win at home. I do respect New England. I think they're a solid team, but it's a game that you should win on your home turf. It's their first loss at home since the 2023 divisional round, where the Chiefs went in there and beat them en route to Super Bowl 58. But an underrated aspect of this win for the Patriots, Lucas, their upcoming schedule is an absolute joke. So next week
Yeah.
they're at the Saints, they're at the Titans, they have the Browns at home, the Falcons at home. They're at the Bucks. That's a tough game. They have the Jets at home on a Thursday night, at the Bengals, the Giants at home on a Monday night, the Bills at home, at the Ravens. Who knows what the Ravens are at that point? At the Jets, Miami. Like they're probably going to make the playoffs at this point. This is a win that it's like, okay, like maybe this Patriots team will win 11 games. And I'm not panicking on the Bills, but I do think they need to figure out that defense. That defense outside of the game against the Jets has been has not been good. Has been a borderline disaster this year. Look, I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I'm still sticking with them. It's one loss, and there's a lot of time. But I think the Bills and the Eagles got kind of needed wake up calls this past weekend with losing winnable games at home.
Yeah, that's not ideal, but I still think Buffalo's the much better team. I just think it was just one of those days where Drake May turned it on in the last like 2 to 3 quarters of that game. He wasn't
Yeah,
good to
he was.
start, but
Yeah.
like then he really turned it on. The Patriots, they need to take advantage of this. They can't afford to waste it. Like I know you just went over their schedule. They need to go 3-0 these next 3 games. Like they gotta. Like if they
Oh
want
yeah,
any
you have
show
to.
any chance of winning the division, they have to be 6-2. They have a late bye, so they'll actually. I just looked at their schedule. They I think they play 8:15 on December 1st. That might be a Monday night game. It is a Monday night
That's
game.
against the
I,
Giants on Monday Night Football. Yeah.
and then they have a bye week and then they host Buffalo. Like that's a
Yes.
really fortunate schedule breakdown. Like if they go 2-0 against Buffalo, that's really changes the calculus, but that is going to involve the Patriots winning all the games they should. I'm just going to quickly fire them off. Saints, Titans, Browns, you just went over them.
Yeah.
Jets twice at the Giants, and then they're probably going to have to beat Cincinnati. I don't imagine Burrow's back, so that's going to be a must-win game.
No, you're
And then
getting Flacco or Browning in that game.
yeah, and then yeah. So like pretty much the only losable games are the Falcons, Bucks, Bills, I guess, but we're not going to count that because that's going to be the pretty much a playoff game. Ravens and then Dolphins, and I don't think the Dolphins is losable. Now that I think about it, like if the Patriots can win all their winnable games and beat Buffalo, when I say winnable, I mean like games they're going to be significantly favored in. If they can just win all those, avoid any upsets, and beat Buffalo, Buffalo needs to be very careful because their margin of error is going to be zero.
I agree. Well, that's why they play the games, Lucas. All right.
Yep.
Do you have any parting thoughts before we wrap up here?
I do not. This is just it was kind of one of the more weird weeks of
Yeah.
football. Real missed opportunity. If you were a Chiefs fan like myself, to get right back and that make that 0-2 start basically a non-factor. But it is what it is. Tough scene for Cardinals fans. I bet a
Oh
lot
my
on them
God.
this season to make the playoffs, and I look like a
Oh yeah, you
fool.
picked them to make the playoffs.
I,
That's right. I forgot
I look
about that.
smart. I look smart for the first two through the first 2.5 games of the season, and then they blew it against San Francisco and just haven't quite been the same team since.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not high on them. I think that Jonathan Gannon's probably gone after the year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Lucas and I will be back tomorrow to preview week 6, make our picks there. An update on the picks records. If I pull up my notes here, neither one of us did very good this week with all the upsets. I am 52 and 25. My father, who's in this pool as well, is 47 and 32. Lucas is 44 and 34 with um the rest of the regular season to go. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will be back tomorrow night.